So do you have school-aged children and anxiety? I mean, they kind of do go hand in hand. Then this probably isn't the movie for you. Stressful, the movie. The Desperate Hour is brought to us by director Philip Noyce, and stars Naomi Watts and Colton Gabo. A mother desperately races against time to save her child as authorities place her small town on lockdown. Okay, so I mentioned that this movie is stressful as fuck, and yes, it is. But I do want to say, before we get into this thing, there is an event that this movie deals with, and in the beginning of the film, the movie doesn't really want you to know what that is. And that will make it difficult to talk about this movie without spoiling this thing, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, so this movie deals with Naomi Watts' character desperately trying to get across town on foot to her son. The reason she's going on foot is because that morning she went for a run and she's pretty far away from home, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and that's when she gets the call. So she is desperately on foot, running across town, making tons of calls, trying to figure out what's going on, if he's okay, what all is really going on. It's a desperate situation, hence the name, The Desperate Hour. Now, concerning the title, I feel as if this movie takes place over the course of a little bit more than an hour. It may be just an hour, but it seems like longer than that, but you know, neither here nor there really. And that's pretty much our movie. We have this mother who is stuck apart from her child who desperately wants to get there and protect him. And she's unable to really get any information about it, so the whole movie is her trying to get across town while she's on the phone talking to various people, just trying to get every bit of information possible. This, honestly, from that description, does not sound like that interesting of a movie, but it really is. From the moment that we learn that this situation is going on, this movie is tense and high stress, and it doesn't really ever let up. You really feel Naomi Watts' character's just desperation and stress at every turn. And the filmmakers did a really good job of divvying out just enough information to keep us going and to consistently ratchet up the tension. I honestly kind of felt like a ball of stress the vast majority of this movie. Also, the movie takes some turns that I wasn't expecting. Some things are thrown out there into the world that you're not thinking are gonna be a thing, and once these ideas are introduced into the story, it potentially changes it drastically. And this was my favorite part of the movie. This was the part of the movie that really hit hard. There are some incredibly difficult things that come up in this film that make this character and us, the viewer, question what's really going on and what we thought all along. It is literally a roller coaster of emotion, and it is all on Naomi Watts' back, and she carries that shit like a champ. About 95% of this movie is just Naomi Watts on the phone. Yeah, we hear other people on the other end of the phone, but this is all her. And she abso-fucking-lutely just kills it. You believe that these are her children, and you believe that she's gonna get to this place no matter what. And she is going to get past any barrier that stands between her and that. Now, that is not to shortchange the people that are on the other end of the phone, because those people are giving a performance as well, but they only have their voice to work with. And I thought that everybody on the other end of the line did a really good job here as well. But admittedly, Watts did such a great job that it kind of overshadowed everything else. This is a situation that no parent is ever going to want to have to face in real life. And while I myself have never had to go through that, thankfully, I imagine that her reaction and how this goes down is how it would be. Now, as we get a bit closer to the end of the film, there are some events that transpire in this movie that are a bit more grandiose than that would actually happen in real life. It never takes it like way too far and just gets way out there or anything, but there are some things that happen that I was thinking to myself, you know, we were going for realism, now this is not quite as realistic now. I'm still on board with it, I'm enjoying it, she's doing a fantastic job, and the movie is keeping me interested, but that probably wouldn't happen. That and the end of the movie. I didn't dislike the end of this movie in any way, but it wasn't nearly as original and fresh as the rest of the movie. I felt like other parts of the film really took chances and challenged us, the viewer. The end of the movie, not so much. Is it satisfying and enjoyable? Sure it is. It just doesn't really challenge us like the rest of the film did. Would I have liked it had it been a different outcome? I can't really say because I didn't get that. I got this. But given what I do have, even though it is a bit conventional, it was still satisfying. Overall, they did a really good good job with this film. They kept me engaged for an hour and a half with a woman by herself running around in the woods for the most part on the phone. And not only was I engaged, I was absolutely invested in this thing. Guys, The Desperate Hour was a really good movie. While it does get a little high concept closer to the end of the film, and the actual end of the movie isn't quite as original as the rest, it had a riveting story that kept me glued to my seat all the way to the end and challenged me in ways that I wasn't expecting. And Naomi Watts just fucking killed it, making The Desperate Hour worth a rent.
All he wanted was this.
I have to return some videotape.
This was a very well-made film, but man, it was tense as hell. But if that's something you can deal with, then check out The Desperate Hour one night. I think you're gonna have a pretty good time with it. So there it is, guys, my review of The Desperate Hour. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below. Become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys. And possibly check out my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Greg C and Dragon Khan. If you like video games or you just want to see me play them desperately, then check out my new gaming channel, Jag. Link in the description. Any support is appreciated. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Jolton.
Please hurry, please hurry.
Who are you talking to?
What?
Who are you talking to?
You.
You're a liar. You're
What?
the police.
No, I'm not the police.
Tell me where he is.
Now, I mentioned how closer to the end of the movie, things get a little bit more high concept. Go out there just a bit more. There's one part real close to the end, not gonna spoil anything here, and this part isn't even really that high concept. It's just a thing that happens right there at the end that just would not go that way in real life at all. Basically, we've got Naomi Watts' character that takes off running into this area that is highly secure and she's not supposed to be. We got all these highly armed people holding all these other people back, but she just takes off and runs off into this area and nobody stops her. I'm like, hell no, that is not how that would go. She'd take off running, she'd probably get like 5 feet and you'd see somebody, BAM, tackle the fuck out of that bitch. I mean, that doesn't really make for a very good ending or anything, but you know, I'd still like to see it.